Let's think about chapter 2, and you were born for this. It's called The Tiny, Enormous Difference. The Tiny, Enormous Difference. I want to tell you a story and then see if I can't come back to this tiny, enormous difference to help you think about something you already know but never put together, maybe. I was asked to speak at a men's conference, leaders from around the country who led men's organizations. And I sensed before I came that God was going to do something dramatic at this event. And so at dinner before the event, I was with the leader and I said, what would you like me to do tonight if God shows up? And he looked at me and he said, what do you mean if God shows up? That was not a good sign. And I said, well, you know, if God has an agenda different than what we've planned, what would you like me to do? He says, what do you mean? I would like you to finish in 30 minutes like we've talked about. And my heart sank and I thought to myself, I wonder what heaven thought of that sentence. And I said, okay. And then I was scrambling for just a little wedge of opportunity. I said, I'll tell you what, if by chance God does show up in an unusual way, and I don't know what to do, I'm going to look at you back at the front. And if you want me to stop, no matter what's going on, just go like this. Just tug your ear. How's that sound? And he said, Dr. Wilkinson, I don't need to tug my ear. Finish in 30 minutes. I said, yes, sir. Well, I went to this meeting and I had prepared a lot. And since God had a supernatural agenda. Now when he does, he doesn't typically tell you, but he may alert you to something a little bit in your heart that says, I'm not sure what's going to happen here, but something may happen unusual. Well, it did. Let me tell you what happened. I started on my talk to these guys. And it wasn't but a couple minutes until all of a sudden I had something happen to me. We call this in the book, and I'll talk about this another time, the God nudge. You know what a nudge is? It's a little tiny push. You know, if you're married, you know what a nudge is. It's when you're sitting there and your wife goes, it's when the preacher says something that she wants you to hear for sure, she'll nudge you. Some men have little black and blue spots right where the nudge happens too many times. Well, I got a God nudge, and the nudge was this. Talk to the man on the fourth seat back. I didn't know these men. And I was a bit uncomfortable. I was talking, and yet I know the language of heaven. I know how God signals you when it's time for a miracle. Whoa! Did you hear that sentence? When God signals you. Because once you learn how to cooperate with heaven, oh my goodness, you see signals. It's amazing. Well, anyway, I stopped talking and without a word walked down the aisle, right down the middle of this meeting, and stopped next to the fourth man down. And I introduced myself to him. I said, hi, I'm Bruce. What was your name? And he looked at me, you know. It's not too common that the speaker interrupts a meeting like this, and he named my name is Owen. I said, Owen, I don't quite know, but is there something I can do for you? And he said, what do you mean? I said, is there something bothering you? Well, no, there's nothing bothering me. And he was a bit rattled, and then I became rattled because nothing happened. Nothing worse than thinking God's going to do something and he doesn't. You feel like, So I apologized and walked back to the front, apologizing to God for having missed his nudge and saying to him, that was kind of unusual. Well, I didn't look at the man who was, in charge, because I was afraid he'd pull his ear right then. So I went and back up and started talking again on the same talk. And got the nudge again. Oh, not something you wanted. Talk to the man in the fourth row. And I'm arguing, and I'm talking. Very difficult for a man. We don't do a process. Women do a process. Men, we can do one thing at a time. And so I was saying, God, I already did this and you didn't come through. Why would I do this again? Go talk to the man in the fourth row.